If you kept my gift from organizational session, which I think everybody probably did, except for maybe Representative Tobias, you'll note there are 245 days left to the end of our term. But members, for all practical purposes, there's 60 days left. And the 60 days that I hope will mark a productive, meaningful, and policy-focused second half. And so we gather together today in this chamber, a chamber that, to the casual observer, might say is just one big room, with 120 desks, 47 speaker portraits, 10 historic murals, all placed in 5,871 square feet of carpet, concrete, and wood. Thankfully, there's only one dais. The house, this house, the Florida House, is a very special place. And each of us is privileged to be here, to serve, to represent the millions of Floridians who sent us here to work for them. A little later this morning, we're going to hear from our great governor, Governor Scott. And he's going to outline very clearly to us that Florida has been on an upward climb for 3 years. Because of unemployment, taxes and regulation are on the decline. And while we have much to be thankful for, we have a lot to do. I've spent time with many of you, and I've heard with great interest your individual stories about why you chose to serve here. As I prepared for this day, I too was reminded of my decision. But I doubt anyone in this room decided to run to seek fame or glory. There are far easier ways to do that. All you need now is a camera phone and a YouTube account. No, you ran because you wanted to do something, to change something, to bring something to this chamber that otherwise never would have happened had you not been here. You probably now know this can be a challenging place to realize that dream. It's a place where the will of one cannot be accomplished without the consent of the majority. It's a furnace for ideas, a melting pot of opinions and viewpoints. It's the way our founders so elegantly designed our structure of government. Not as an empire of I, but as a republic of we. Our best and greatest accomplishments, both last year in the state of Florida and around the country, have always occurred when we worked together. When we consider the views not only from our own perspective, but from the perspective of all Floridians. Unfortunately, our modern political environment does not lend itself to such an approach. For example, in Washington, D.C., they pass more blame than bills. Let's set a different tone. Let's spend the next 60 days focused on policy, not politics. Let's hold off on the campaign till May 3rd. Let's show Florida how it can be done. Last year, we announced and accomplished a significant agenda. Many thought we couldn't or wouldn't succeed. There were moments I wondered myself. But when the votes were counted, when the handkerchief dropped, we delivered for Florida. Representative McBurney, we even managed to pass your 224-page bill at the end. But in the end, we pursued and achieved an inclusive agenda of reform. It is my hope that we will do so again and that together we will finish this session strong. That's why, once again, we've worked with the Senate to come up with a work plan for 2014. It's more ambitious and far-reaching than last year. In fact, we will begin this day by passing our first work plan bill, the Florida GI Bill. We've long been known as a military and veteran-friendly state. It's a distinction of honor for us, and one where we should always look for ways to do better. But if we want to make Florida a pocket of economic and personal freedom to the nation and to the world, what better way to start our session than honoring those who fight for that very freedom? If this session we make Florida the best place for our military, and we will also do everything we can to make it the worst place for predators and for criminals. This year, we will have sweeping reforms to our sexual predator laws. We will also provide safe places to the victims of human trafficking. We'll fully fund the APD critical needs waiting list, and we'll make significant investments in our guardian ad litem program and our child advocacy centers. Let me say that one death, even just one death of a child who is in the custody of the state of Florida, is completely unacceptable. And together with DCF, the House, the Senate, advocates, and families, we will increase funding and decrease cumbersome and dangerous red tape. While the state cannot prevent every tragedy, we can do more to protect Florida's children. Members, this session, we are going to cut taxes, a lot of taxes. In fact, this will be the largest general revenue tax cut in over 10 years. Chair Workman has a big job to do. We're looking to return $500 million back into the pockets of our taxpayers. It's our version of a real stimulus plan, and one that is good for Florida's families and Florida's economy. We will also continue to put our house in order. Once again, Senate President Gates is leading the charge on ethics reform. Today, with your vote, we will pass a residency rule. The people of Florida need to know that their political leaders are playing by the rules. Our Constitution says that members must live in their districts, and the trust of the people is at the very foundation of our representative government. We'll also take other practical steps to make government more accountable to Floridians, from a comprehensive IT bill to another balanced budget. Speaking of fiscal responsibility, last year, we put $500 million recurring dollars into the budget to shore up our so-called great pension system. Nowhere but government do we rejoice and say, we almost paid all of our bills. An 85.9% funded plan sounds great until you realize that's $21 billion of unfunded liability. Members, I believe that if we can solve this problem this year, then in future years, we'll have more money to hire more teachers, do more tax cuts, and invest in our future. May 2014 finally be the year that we disarm this ticking time bomb and secure a better future for our workers and for our state. Now, the final focus of our work plan is a concentrated effort on fostering upward mobility and disrupting generational poverty. 1 in 5 of our fellow Floridians are living under the poverty level. 1 in 5. That is unacceptable to me, and it should be unacceptable to everyone in this room, regardless of what party you come from. Now, we know that there will always be poverty, the kind that results from temporary setbacks, job loss, foreclosures, unexpected challenges. But there's a far greater and more dramatic problem for some of our Floridians. They're stuck in generational poverty. The persistent year after year oppression and hopelessness that starts with their grandparents, moves down to their parents, continues to their children. I believe that strong families, a quality education, and a good-paying job are the only ways to disrupt poverty in this state and this country. Particularly when they're generational. The statistics are overwhelming. If you have a full-time job in America today, there's a 97% chance you are not living in poverty. If you have a full-time job or a part-time job, there's a 93% chance you are not living in poverty. And while our unemployment rate is dropping, and we should be proud of that, there are still too many Floridians looking for work. For example, if you're a young person between the ages of 18 and 24, your unemployment rate is 15%. We live in a society where our next generation, our young generation, cannot pay their student loans. They're not saving for retirement. They're not buying homes. They're moving back home. There's a storm brewing, and it's easier to ignore, but we have to act. The answer is a paycheck, not a welfare check. That's the ticket to economic and personal freedom, because a job is more than just pay. Work gives us a sense of dignity, of self-actualization, of purpose. If dependency is the deep pit of quicksand, education and the free enterprise system are the hands that pull us out. But in order to provide sustainable, lasting solutions, we have to get beyond the tired and ineffective arguments of income inequality and class warfare. We have to quit dividing. Because what we know to be true is that it's not the redistribution of wealth that restores the rungs on the ladder of opportunity. It's the redistribution of knowledge. It's the redistribution of knowledge. We will therefore put significant time and energy into fostering economic opportunity through education. Just as there is no single cause for this problem, so too we will not offer a single solution. We will attack it on many fronts. From increased standards and accountability in our early learning efforts to common sense reform in our K-12 system. We'll simplify school grades to make them more understandable and thus more meaningful to parents, teachers, and children. And we'll work hard to make sure that our children and our parents who are looking for an alternative learning environment will not be turned away. I believe that no child's success should ever be dictated by their zip code. In my opinion, no other issue today personifies freedom, opportunity, and the God-given right to rise better than the school choice movement. There are 60,000 kids who are receiving scholarships today, primarily minority and overwhelmingly low income. And there's tens of thousands more parents looking for that same opportunity to provide their child with that choice. Let's agree not to fight each other. Let's fight for them. Let's expand the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship. Florida has also been a leader in career and professional education. By funding tech centers and offering more industry certification programs, we will create real competition and real choices. Florida's workforce needs are changing at a dynamic and rapid rate. We're requiring our education system to adapt and to innovate. We are also changing the higher education paradigm, requiring universities to focus on getting students a job, not just a framed degree. By creating an incentive-based funding model, we will reward universities for efficiency, degree completion, and job placement. Members, this is our work plan for 2014. It's a big agenda, but it can be done. Yet, it's not the totality of what we'll accomplish this session. I look around this chamber, and I see a room full of ideas. And I look forward to the conversation on priorities that are important to you, priorities that are important to our state. And before I close, I want to tell you about one more. Members, we need to put higher education in the reach for a group of students that we are leaving behind. The federal government has failed. Washington, D.C. has ducked the issue of immigration to the detriment of the states like Florida. Our border is not secure. Our laws are not enforced. Their flaws and avoidance have left us with inconsistency and confusion. It's hurting our state. It's hurting some of our kids. These are children that, through no fault of their own, they live in our state, they're educated in our public schools. We invest tens of thousands of dollars to educate them through the 12th grade. And then we shut the door on their future. And we no longer treat them as if they're Floridians. It makes no sense fiscally. It makes no sense economically, and it makes no sense morally, because we should never punish a child for the mistake of their parents. States do not have control over their immigration policy, but we can act on residency. Let's exercise our state's rights and open the door of opportunity for all of Florida's children. In 1984, a Florida author by the name of Patrick Smith wrote a remarkable novel entitled A Land Remembered. He just passed away this January. But his book chronicles over 100 years of Florida history through the lives of a family of pioneers. Though the characters were a matter of fiction, Smith captured so exquisitely the very character of our state. Historical accounts are of great value to us. They remind us that we're both blessed and burdened by the choices and the actions of our predecessors. Our state is the reality of their vision. But a land remembered is what we see in the rearview mirror. It's up to us, all of us, to help write the next volume of Florida's incredible story. It's my sincere hope that as your speaker, I will help make the next 60 days worthy of your sacrifice, and that together we write a story that is worthy of passing on to the next generation. If we set aside ambition and campaigning, even just for 2 months, if we focus on Floridians who are counting on us, Floridians who are looking for a chance to rise, then I believe our best days are ahead. Let us make Florida not just a land remembered, but a land of promise. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Florida.